the third person rebuke. In Job 38 to 39, God speaks to Job for nearly 80 verses in pure second person. Where were you? Have you? Can you? Direct, personal, aimed at Job alone. Then in Job 40, verse 2, the grammar shifts. Shall a fault finder contend with the Almighty? He who argues with God, let him answer it. Suddenly it's third person, impersonal, general. This shift isn't accidental, it's a signal. Most readings smooth this over, assuming God is just being formal with Job. But the Hebrew word for contends is riv, a legal term meaning to bring a lawsuit or formal accusation. That's not Job's role in the book. Job protests and complains, but never formally accuses God in his divine council room setting. The riv belongs to someone else. Satan, the accuser, the title, not proper name, of the figure who opened a legal case against God back in chapters 1 to 2, wagering that Job's righteousness was only bought by God's blessings. That figure vanished from the text after chapter 2, one of Scripture's most famous loose threads. This article argues Job 40 verse 2 quietly picks that thread back up. When God's voice shifts to third person, he's not only addressing Job, he's raising his voice to the whole heavenly assembly, including the accuser. Job is humbled by the words, but they're really a verdict against the one who started the whole ordeal. This reading gets support from Job's three friends, who spend the book insisting Job must have sinned, since suffering is supposedly divine punishment. They're not defending God. They're agreeing with the accuser's premise that righteousness is transactional, a kind of cosmic trade. When God tells them in 42 verse 7, they have not spoken of me what is right, it's a ruling against that whole worldview. The article draws a parallel to ancient legal and covenant texts, Hittite instruction texts, Assyrian vassal treaties, the Code of Hammurabi's epilogue, and Deuteronomy 27, where a speaker shifts from direct you address to third person the one who, etc., precisely to universalize a verdict, binding it to whoever fits the description rather than just the person in front of them. Daniel's court narratives do the same. 40 verse 2 fits this exact pattern. God's grammar becomes public record, not just private correction. The piece then turns to Job's own unanswered question. In chapter 31, Job challenges God to explain why a blameless man would suffer. God never answers that question directly. This silence is necessary, not evasive. If Job had known about the wager in chapter 1, his endurance would prove nothing. The test requires him to hold on without the answer in hand. Yet Job's case does get answered, not by explanation, but by outcome, by purpose. God assigns Job a new role, intercessor for the very friends who condemned him, since only Job's prayer will be accepted on their behalf. That role, righteous sufferer becoming intercessor, is itself the answer, echoing Isaiah 53 and Christ's own intercession on the cross. Both the accuser's case in the heavenly court and Job's question on the ash heap are resolved the same way, not by disclosure, but by lived demonstration. Modern arguments about suffering, with proponents like Fry, Attenborough, and Dawkins, restate this same problem of suffering that was effectively answered in Job. God's rebuke in 40 verse 2 scorches Job, but it's really aimed past him. At the accuser, who is proven wrong, God is his target, Job his means. God turns the table on him. Let God be true, though everyone were a liar, as it is written, that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. Romans 3 verse 4. The takeaway: faith that demands its answer up front isn't faith at all. Job held on without one, and that's the evidence God never needs but chooses to use. Read the whole article by Alan R. Jones on the Mesotopia.net link below.